you just got weaseled. We are building a weasel army, all right?
These leaders that they call leaders, this included comedians, comics. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we said you're a great father up top. First thing you say is, I've got great kids. You didn't take credit. And then your entire answer, and I thought this was really cool, your entire answer is about how great your kids are. That was a very cool thing.
Thank you. That's very nice. I think I like this interview. I think
Chad, this is Kahmal's channel. The last time I covered this guy, he was beefing with FD Signifier. I'll be honest, I haven't watched enough of his content to know what he's like, but he seemed, when he was talking to FD Signifier, he seemed to have more smoke for the left than for the right. Right? He seemed to be criticizing FD Signifier from the right. So, you know, not necessarily like a good, I don't know. It seems like another person that's kind of maybe changed their take on some things since the election.
You are just waking up right now. NBC News now officially projecting.
Sorry, Kahmal is his name.
Donald Trump has won the presidency.
This group influenced the presidential election of 2024.
Yo, listen. Don't even say influence. We decided.
We were the turning point.
Just know he was not up until this pod.
It's true.
After the pod, he surges, what, 3 or 4%?
Yeah, it was a wrap, dude.
Never went back down after that.
Images of MAGA supporters literally burning their red MAGA hats are going viral online. And all of this...
How did I miss this?
...comes a day after Trump berated Republicans as...
Is it a dark MAGA hat getting burnt?
...quote, stupid and foolish for wanting more information about the disgraced financier who died by suicide while in federal custody.
Yeah, more like this. More like this. I want more of these images.
You know what I'm getting a lot of? You talked to him. You platformed him as if he was at 0%. And then we talked to him and then he won the election. As if he had fucking no shot of winning.
Hold on.
People were like, this guy's a monster. He's not a human being. Then we humanize him. That's what he keeps saying.
Since all this drama with the Epstein files, I've noticed that a few of these podcaster comedians have been speaking out against their little buddy Donald Trump. And no one's played the situation worse than this guy.
Like, there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for.
Yeah.
I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back.
And as soon as little Andy posted this genius revelation, to his surprise, his audience wasn't immediately kissing his ass, but instead was calling him out for taking 8 months to figure out the most obvious shit of all time. Saying things like,
not being able to see through Trump's blatant bullshit for 10 years is honestly baffling at this point.
You endorsed him proudly. You wore the red hat, posted the memes, excused the cruelty, justified the lies. You stood by when others were silenced, targeted, dehumanized. And now, after all the damage, you're shocked.
After seeing the dislikes and the negative comments, because Andrew sucks as much ass as he does, instead of acknowledging that he was possibly wrong about anything, he turns the camera on a few days later to say this.
What's up, everybody? Apparently we ruined America. You know, we were trying to hold the person in power, President Trump, accountable for not fulfilling some of his promises, and that was foolish, man.
Nah, you're an idiot, dude.
That was
you're
a
bad
foolish
person.
thing to do. Once you vote for somebody, no matter what they do, even if it's the exact opposite of what they say they're gonna do, you just ride that until the wheels fall off.
Yes. See, this is why Andrew is such a weaselly little bitch to me. No rational person is making the argument that once you vote for Trump, you can never criticize him and you can never change your mind. What people are saying is for you to be shocked by
criticism, or sorry, the credit. Look, what we don't want to see you do is, like, I don't know, disappear into the bushes and pretend like you never got anything wrong. All you got to say is, like, is my bad. Like, right? People warned me about this guy. I didn't believe him. I thought we've already been through 4 years with this guy. I didn't think it could get worse. It did. I'm sorry. I was wrong. And I definitely should have had a little backbone when I was talking to him. I definitely shouldn't have prioritized access and honestly, chat, what he's doing is basically allying himself, not just with Trump, but with the extreme right wing, right? That's the reason that they went so soft on Trump, was to make sure that they wanted to ensconce themselves in the red pill manosphere, content, network, right? They wanted that shit, and they're only saying, you're only hearing this from them because Trump is not popular now. That's what's scumbaggy about it, right? Yeah, you can absolutely change your opinion about somebody, but if you contributed to one of the worst electoral mistakes that this country has ever made, you gotta fucking cop to that. You gotta at least say, like, a little bit of acknowledgement. A little bit of an acknowledgement goes a long way, and there's none of that from Andrew Schultz. It's just fucking cope is what it is, and try to turn it into a joke, and the same kind of tactics that you see from like Vash's community or Destiny's community, the same kind of cult like community that you see from all the shitty content creators out there that won't take accountability.
What Trump is doing, and for you to say that this isn't what you voted for, it's bullshit. The signs were there for anybody who was paying any kind of attention, and this little speech just feels like a pathetic way to try and save face. Because instead of trying to take any sort of accountability, you're acting like a victim who was blindsided. Donald Trump was president before. You forget that? And he did 0 things in his first term that would make any sort of rational adult believe that he was capable of ending any wars or decreasing the deficit. When it comes to ending wars, if you really believe that Donald Trump has any sort of respect from any of these foreign leaders, you're delusional. As soon as it was announced that he won, Putin had Russian state TV playing pictures of Donald Trump's naked wife.
Nude photos of Melania Trump have been aired on Russia's most watched state TV channel during a program supposedly dedicated...
Wait, did they just straight up show nudity? No, I think his name is Kahmal.
...to celebrating Trump's election victory.
You think this is a guy who gives a fuck about what Donald Trump thinks or feels? Of course not. He has 0 respect for it. Also, Donald Trump is the guy in his first term who increased drone strikes by over 400%. So again...
over Obama, who was a huge drone striker.
What the fuck would make you think that this was the guy who was going to end a war? Let alone 2. When he was president the first time, he increased the deficit more than almost any other president in American history. And that was after inheriting an economy that was pretty good. So yeah, when you turn the camera on and say, this isn't what I voted for, people are gonna make fun of you, as they should. You look stupid. If you had decided to take any accountability and was just like, you know what, guys, clearly Trump is a liar, I should have known that, that's my bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let's try to move forward. If you had said anything close to that, people wouldn't have cared as much. But because you're an insufferable asshole, you don't do that, and instead...
It's because of this W culture, right? I talk about this with Vash. Again, I hate to keep bringing him up, considering how thankfully irrelevant he is these days, but yeah, this is the same kind of shit that they would do. The W culture, the WL culture, right, chat, is that if you want to make a name for yourself as that kind of streamer, you got to be seen as always taking the W, never taking the L. If somebody hands you an L, you got to bend it. You got to bend reality to turn it into a W, right? And yeah, you can, that L, as long as you're stacking up W's, you're building momentum, you're growing. The second that you get saddled with an L, that growth, that potential gets arrested. And so these people are incentivized to try to retcon history, to turn a to deny the L, instead of just fucking taking the L and admitting that you're wrong, which should be the easiest thing in the world because of the kind of content that you're doing, because the audience of very naive young men that makes up your community you find yourself unable to do that, and that's what makes it so that we can't take you seriously.
Decide to double down on why voting for Trump was so smart.
But I don't regret it at all. I don't even regret voting for him at all, because what you see is all these Democrats that are starting to take up the issues that he was the one campaigning on.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Essentially, what he's done is pull the Democrat Party over to the center. So if they start talking about these issues, Ro Khanna, who we have on.
Joel Severud, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. All right, let's get
later on this
back to this.
And then we got Ro Khanna, who's pushing up this bill in Congress right now, where he wants to release the entire unredacted Epstein files.
Yeah.
He doesn't even realize like how much of an out-of-touch privileged asshole he is when he talks like this. And for whichever one of his ethnic ball coddlers was that hit that ooh. Yeah, fuck you too. Trump hasn't even been president 9 months, and we're already at the point where we've sent hundreds of people to a crazy super prison in another country, where I think it was up to 70 to 90% of them have no criminal history.
Yeah.
They have ICE arresting people at their own immigration.
So, like, I think 60 something percent in Alligator Alcatraz, no criminal charges.
Hearings. The tariffs, one of those 2 things that Donald Trump actually ran on, Walmart already said, yeah, we already increased prices in June to prepare for this bullshit. So shit's more expensive now for no fucking reason. And we fired hundreds of thousands of government employees, including people who are, I don't know, in charge of telling us about floods in Texas. And you, the obnoxious, wealthy entertainer, say you don't regret your vote because now the Democrats are talking about releasing the Epstein files.
Oh yeah, this is wild. Listen to his cope.
And you wonder why people don't fucking like you. Now, for those of you guys who know me, you know I'm not one to spend money on things. I mean, I've been wearing these.
I don't know, chat. Do we give Kahmal the ethical react?
Same 5 t-shirts throughout.
I mean, it's a pretty good video. Let's go. I'll go ahead and play it.
Single one of my videos. But when I find a good deal, I take advantage. And this Extra Wallet Pro is a great deal. Especially now. Out of the gate, it's backed with a lifetime guarantee, so if you get this wallet, you'll never have to buy a wallet again. So in my eyes, it's already way more valuable than anything any of these luxury brands are trying to sell you. Extra is giving everybody—
Is it good to leave your capo on your guitar? Or is that, like, I usually try to not do that.
Up to 30—
I don't know if it actually messes. Does it make the guitar lose its tune quicker, or
% off until
does it mess with the fretboard somehow? I always try to, like, I'm guilty of definitely putting my capo on the top, on the head of the guitar, but never getting this wallet. It says Neurzorf. Yeah, I don't blame you.
August 4th. But if you use my code Kahmal, Kahmal, at checkout, you can save an extra 10%. So go ahead and check out the Extra Wallet Pro. Thank you again to Extra for sponsoring.
Is that an Ava? Is that like a Ava on his
During today's video. Now let's get back to the world's biggest clown. So because Human Laugh Track started to feel the heat after their epiphany that the known liar might have lied, they had on the guys from the Pod Save America podcast.
And this is wild. This almost makes me want to go over this content. In fact, chat, let me show you something here. Let me, I'm gonna keep this going, but I want to show you the thumbnail that I've
these guys used to
got for this
back in the day, and now they have a podcast because, of course, they do. But anyway, listen to what Andrew says here.
There was a bit of a media storm that happened after some criticisms that I had over Trump, and I had a John, and I was like, John, like, am I off on this? Like, what is the best way to handle like somebody that I voted for that is not living up to their promises? I'm criticizing them, and some responses are, well, yeah, you're a an idiot. And I was like, I don't know if that's the best way to build a coalition.
First off, bitch, we were talking about build a coalition. You just said you don't even regret voting for the guy that's causing all this bullshit. Unlike those—
You're literally calling people woke scolds for saying that having Trump on was a bad move when you admit that electing Trump was a bad move. Yeah, chat, this would be the thumbnail if we end up covering this. Look at that. Because I'm kind of disappointed in Pod Save America. I'll show you why. Let's roll a little bit more.
Loser sitting next to you, you don't pay us to kiss your ass and laugh at your dog shit jokes.
You gotta call it heckling. Call it heckling.
So when you say stupid bullshit, we're gonna call you out on it. That's how the internet works. Grow the up. Also, I'm pretty sure that no one running for president or Congress is in your comment section trying to hurt your little feelings. So why would you let what these people are saying change how you decide to vote or who you decide to support? Does that make sense? This is what's wrong with these comedians in politics. They correlate things that they read on Twitter and in their comment sections with people who work in government. If you want to criticize
Laverne Cox controversy? What's that about?
the Democratic Party, there's plenty of things to choose from. But please don't use your comment section or some college kid on TikTok as a way to do it, because that's fucking stupid. I've seen that little creep Tony Hinchcliffe do a similar thing in that bullshit Twitter video people call a comedy special.
I've never considered myself a very political guy. But about a month before all this happened, we found out from YouTube that there's new words that they want us to censor.
She dated a MAGA cop? God damn it. Was it Connor Points? I hope it wasn't Counterpoints.
New words that you have to bleep out or you don't make money anymore.
What's the logic there? You think Joe Biden's like picking up the phone, calling Susan and being like, no comedians can use these 4 words ever again, okay, Susan? Okay, like this is a priority. If you want to criticize Joe Biden, but use your head. You sound like a fucking idiot. And to this point,
I was like, I don't know if that's the best way to build a coalition. What do you think? What do you think about that, Sean?
No, that shit drives me nuts because I think, first of all,
okay, obligatory curse word from Favreau there.
Trump lies a lot. He's always lied a lot. And it also assumes that every single person in America was supposed to be paying attention to like every single word that Donald Trump has ever said.
Right. Yeah,
This is what I hate about Pod Save. They are feckless and they're constantly fighting yesterday's battle, right? Just like the Democratic Party. And surprise, surprise, yes, these were speechwriters for Obama and Hillary. That's why this has like tones of the Democratic party. These guys write their speeches, right? But yeah, look at that. Like, no, we don't want to woke scold you for literally supporting Trump, literally humanizing him, literally giving him look, it's the same as with the Nelk Boys and Netanyahu. You give a platform for him to do an infomercial on. There's no pushback. You're just a bunch of dudes hanging out. And so you're going to make people that thought, like, I don't know, wasn't Trump the kids in cages guy? Isn't Trump the guy that did January 6th? No, he's actually just some dude that's really chill to hang out with. He's hanging out with your dudes. He's hanging out with your podcast dudes. Yeah, they absolutely cause harm. And the fact that Favreau is so thirsty for exposure on a, red pill, platform like, and honestly, Flagrant still is. The only difference is now Trump is unpopular, so they're pivoting, but they'll be back on it. If trans people become the next moral panic, and that one's a lot easier to sell. The America is united against the menace of trans people in sports, or trans kids getting puberty blockers or whatever. They will absolutely go back on the fucking Trump train. It's not going to take much to get them there. This is the whole thing about them, is they're passive. They're passive. Just whatever comes, they're gonna adapt to, and that's why you shouldn't be getting political anything from them. But yeah, you can see why this is useful to Trump. Same way that Nelk Boys are useful for Netanyahu. They are incapable of asking you a tough question, not just unwilling to ask you a tough question, which they are because they want access, but they are incapable. They do not have the intelligence. And of these podcast bros, like Andrew Schultz is on the less oblivious side, right? Compared to the Nelk Boys, compared to a lot of these guys, right? Or at least how he plays. I mean, there's a real question as to whether this kind of content creator affects a lack of intelligence as a means of relatability. Same thing with Joe Rogan.
I guess it's possible for the average person to fall for these lies if they weren't paying any kind of attention. But we're not talking about the average person. We're talking about multimillionaires who have huge audiences and decided to make their podcast a political one. Nobody is putting a gun to their head, forcing them to sit down with politicians and billionaires. That's what they wanted to do. And to Andrew's original point, as much as I'd love to try...
Kind of a contradiction or a paradox, I guess, about the podcast bros, is that they're Their platforms are valuable because they weren't built on politics, right? They're somehow trusted a little bit more by low propensity voters because because they can like learn along with them, right? They're not intimidating. They're not like, oh my gosh, this guy knows about what lifting the cap means on Social Security. I feel stupid, right? Whereas somebody watching Sam Cedar, might feel that you're not gonna get that from Andrew Schultz, right? When he tries to talk about Social Security, he's lost. He's utterly lost, right? So, but that's part of their allure, is that they've made a name for themselves covering pop culture, covering lifestyle, covering fitness, covering nutrition, covering comedy, covering all these other things. And somehow that, instead of cutting against them when they try to do politics, that like helps them. So apparently I did everything the complete wrong way, Chad. I should have started off as a gaming streamer. Then I could have pivoted towards pop culture commentary, and then approach politics from there, after I have earned people's trust by convincing them that I'm just as mindless as they are. There's no learning in their content. It's mindless dribble, and that's why people watch. Yeah, no doubt.
Crash on the people that voted for this man and call them stupid. I do realize that if we're gonna make it better, we're gonna need a lot of the people who voted for Trump. And I'm torn on what I'm seeing right now, because I do see Trump squirming, and I have to give credit to people like Andrew who voted for Trump but are now starting to see the light.
I gotta say, Kahmal's got a great background. I love this backdrop with the cactus. Are these like the edible? Is this a prickly pear cactus, chat? Can you eat these things?
These people have been holding Trump's feet to the fire about this Epstein shit. And it's really just becoming more and more obvious.
I wouldn't mind some cactus.
How corrupt he is. And that's a good thing. But also,
that's a good thing. Oh my God, are you a viewer?
I can't ignore the side of my brain that thinks, really, this is what made you see the light, Andrew? You really thought that the guy who was best friends with the most famous child sex trafficker of all time was not only definitely not on this Epstein list, but was also going to be the one to drain the swamp and expose all these corrupt billionaire pedophiles? Really?
I mean, look, gotta hand it to Kahmal. He's definitely drained the swamp. That's why he lives in a desert.
This guy?
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
What is wrong with Howard Stern? What is wrong with these people? Like, were they in the same room? Like, the correct response to somebody saying your daughter is a piece of ass, right, is to slap them. I know that's not, technically that's assault and battery, but chat, it's still correct. It's still correct.
Always been very voluptuous.
The man who's been publicly accused of groping women with Jeffrey Epstein, the guy who bragged about going into women's locker rooms because he owns the pageant to be a creep and look at them when they're naked, that guy.
You found the emote? We got the emote? Nice. Wait, is that an onigiri emote? Trump paid him to say that?
Funny is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant and therefore
wait.
expecting it.
Trump paid Howard Stern to call his daughter a piece of ass? I mean, I guess Trump doesn't. I mean, Trump's basically said the same thing about Ivanka. Maybe that's why you do not see Ivanka around anymore.
I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
You thought that was going to be the guy who was going to bring down all the sick perverts. Really? Like, what the fuck were you? What? Bro, what? But anyway, unfortunately for all of us, Andrew Schultz is not the only podcast comedian who's coping with this Trump and Epstein shit. Because Andrew and Tim Dillon both believe—
I just made that up, but I also believe it. God damn, chat keeps on gaslighting me and it keeps on working.
That it's very possible that the only reason Trump hasn't released all these files is not because he's on the list, but because the FBI or the CIA is threatening Trump's life.
I think Trump knows they'll kill him. I believe he knows that. I believe he knows that the people that killed all of those people would find a way to kill him.
I'm sorry, chat. They will kill him? Who were we talking about, Tim?
If this came out.
They could have come up to him and be like, you know, we missed on purpose, right? The guy who had the perfect shot on you from 100 meters away or whatever, like, we missed on purpose. You didn't look at a f***ing sign. Looking at the sign got you closer. But we missed on purpose. And we won't the next time. Unless you tell people to look the other way about this Epstein shit.
Would be the purpose of that? All right, if they got a shot, if the deep state is, if Trump is inconvenient for the deep state, and they got a fucking shot on them, and they can blame some fucking 18-year-old debate bro from Pennsylvania for it, why would they not just end him right there? It just doesn't make sense.
I would not be surprised at all if the CIA and the FBI actually are running the country.
Aren't these people like really politically invested? Don't they pretend to be politically invested? Don't they know that Donald Trump is the one who appointed the head of the FBI and the head of the CIA? Like, I'm confused. To their fans who are watching this, can you guys explain to me, like, do they really think Kash Patel, the guy who wrote a children's book where Donald Trump was the hero?
Forgot about this.
Do they really think that that guy's pulling Trump into a dark corner and threatening to kill him if he releases the Epstein files? Or do they think it's Tulsi Gabbard, the other loyalist?
No, they think it's some kind of like, you know, entry-level functionary. Like, right? Who's left? Who's left that could be the deep state after you fired anybody that's fucking competent in their job? Who's left? Who could, like, we've eliminated these possibilities. If there's still a deep state, if they're still gonna kill Trump, then who the fuck is it? Who is even left?
Near qualified to do what she's doing. The one that said that there was no intel that Iran was making a nuke, but then Trump said that there was, so then she changed her mind and said that there was. Is that the one who's strong-arming Trump? You think they're really calling the shot? Tim, do you believe that, or did somebody tell you to say that? Because I feel like somebody told you to say that.
I'm going to tell you about a dinner I had with a member of the administration. I'm going to tell you everything that I know, and I'm going to say the things that I do not know. And I am also not going to attest to the veracity, Google it, of the information. When Pam Bondi came out and said...
Yeah, you're dropping some high-level vocabulary on us here with veracity. Thanks.
I have 10,000 hours of evidence. What has been told to me is that that is Epstein downloaded from the internet. It is not the tapes of powerful people in compromising positions.
I guess it was just Hub, dude. My bad. What were we thinking? All he was just watching the Hub, dude. He just had a hard drive of downloaded internet porn. That's very logical. There's no tapes of anyone powerful. That makes perfect sense. It's so interesting to me that these people...
Wait, is that what Pam Bondi was actually saying? I thought she was saying he had CSAM. Oh, were they saying that he had like commercial or somehow like but what I interpreted that as like that he had filmed himself with these children. But that maybe there was no, you know, I don't know. The thing about Pam Bondi is she never really speaks. She never speaks in complete thoughts. So it's you end up like hearing the words that are very vague and trying to interpret it out of those, like what she actually means. But I thought she was saying that he had CSAM of himself and the children that he had abused, but that there was no other. You know, there were no identifiable other people.
We're always saying, the government's not trustworthy, the government's not trustworthy. Now they're sitting down and having dinner with the most corrupt government I've seen in America and repeating their talking points to their audiences. Why do you guys think that that's happening? When I think of like the Tim Dillon...
Chat, we're down to 30 minutes. We've got three more teal super chats, and I put this butterfly in my hair, and we achieve both goals somehow, as if by magic.
Andrew Scholes, the Theo. I think of people who are desperate for validation, attention, and money. And I can't say that I'm shocked that they're handling like politics and power awfully. When I was younger, when I thought of a comedian, I thought of somebody whose job it was to criticize or to point out the aspects of our culture that were nonsensical and that we can improve on. You know, like that's what I felt like a good comedian's job was. I would think of somebody like a George Carlin, Bill Burr in his prime, like they called out the bullshit in our culture. But these comedians are not only that bullshit, but they're literally the mouthpieces for some of the most disgusting people on this planet. And it's gross, but it's not surprising. Thinking about it in hindsight, it makes perfect sense why Donald Trump would want to be on their podcast. It's already been said that he was ducking anybody who was going to ask him real questions.
I'm telling you guys, this did happen. Like, I had multiple Trump interview requests in, and they were basically like, no. And I heard it off the record. Yeah. It's like, bro, you're going to ask him 2 hard questions. Like, this, it was quite literally told to me, right? Yeah. Now, I mean, there's a reason he's going on Theo Vaughn and all, you know, and other places, because they didn't think that was going to happen.
And these people were the perfect marks. They stand for nothing. They're cowards and they're stupid. He knew that they weren't going to press him on anything. You see losers like Akash so worried about this man walking off the set that he's afraid to ask him a genuine question.
I could do the thing that feels really good, where I ask a gotcha question and I dunk on you, and then he gets up and he walks off and he says, go fuck yourself. I know, I've seen enough interviews with this guy to know.
Yeah, these guys are pro, right? You know, I would have just gone like that. Like, he knows enough to know that he's wearing a lavalier mic, and that it's gonna pick up. It's gonna slap too hard. It's gonna make too much noise. So he like ends it before he hits his hand.
I have to relate to him on a human level, and then when he feels safe, maybe he'll answer the questions I want to ask.
I've got to coddle his balls until his scrotum relaxes, and at that point I can. What the hell? What the actual hell?
Please stop getting any sort of important or political information from these people. They don't give a fuck. I mean, look how Andrew responds when asked about how he handled the Trump interview.
In your interview with Donald Trump, do you feel like you did?
Do you feel like you're turning into a dinosaur? Oh no, I haven't smoked enough weed yet. Sorry.
The necessary work of asking him difficult questions.
Do you think that's necessary?
Yes.
What I'd like to see more is people asking the questions that they are curious about themselves, instead of trying to pander to what their audience is curious about.
Nigga, what?
Imagine you watching right now. If you had the opportunity to interview a presidential candidate, could you honestly imagine caring that little about what your audience wants to know? During a presidential election, to think of that as pandering? This is how disconnected these people are. They're broken. I wish I could say that their audience has figured it out and they're not going to talk to politicians anymore, but that would be a lie. My guess is that as Trump becomes more and more like openly corrupt, more people will figure it out that this guy's a psychopath, and these comedians are just going to have on like more left-leaning people. Like, clearly the Democratic Party
you don't understand. As he becomes more corrupt and more psychotic, he's going to be more emboldened to crush any democratic mechanisms that might check him, right? You can see what he's doing right now. It's completely abnormal, chat, for an employee of the Department of Justice to interview a witness like this, like what's going on right now with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? What we're looking at is possibly a fix, is possibly, they're setting it up so that she can get Trump's pardon, and she knows she can get Trump's pardon if she gives the narrative that's convenient to Donald Trump, right? Like, you're talking about, I mean, I would call it witness tampering, but her trial's already happened. I don't know, you got to call it something else, but yeah, no, it's, the problem is that by the time that we get wise to, like, what Trump is about, what he's up to, and that we don't like it, right? By the time that happens, he's consolidated too much power for us to stop him. And at that point, you got to go further. In other words, to stop it, like, right in the beginning, you can stop Trump by standing up and saying something. By the time that he's got power consolidated, you would basically need to reenact Jan 6 yourself in order to stop him. And the problem is, at every turn, once people become wise to Trump's tricks, he's upped the ante and made it so, okay, well, if you want to really do something about it, you're gonna have to, you're gonna have to go beyond like, constitutional means at this point. And the question is, like, do the people have the nuts for that? Do the people have the spine for that? Do the people have the wherewithal to actually, match his escalation? And that's a real question that I can't answer, and only the American people themselves can. DOJ is sanctioning judges for rulings that they don't like. All kinds of shit. MAGA is going to Jan 6 Trump if he goes through with the Maxwell nonsense. I would hope so, Mylan, but we just read Azalea Banks's tweet saying that even if he is effing 12-year-olds, she's still ride or die Trump, right? And there's a lot of MAGA like that, but one can hope. One can hope. I mean, at each turn, at each failure to confront Trump with strength, the strength that's required to confront Trump the next time increases. And generally the willingness of people that have realized that, they fell for it again is not, unless that matches that, muscle velocity, as Bannon would say, it's gonna be too little too late, right? At the end of the day, what is needed is for people to realize that the power that matters is in their hands, but you're going to have to put it all on the line in order to exercise that power. You're going to have to risk everything. And I don't know if people will.
Out that they fucked up by not going on these podcasts, and I think we're going to see more people like Pete Buttigieg and
holy shit, I streamed till dark, chat. That's wild.
Bernie, and probably around during primaries.
Oh my god,
you guys are wondering
it's morning in the US.
Why I didn't mention Joe in this video. That's because I gave him his own separate video that's on its way. If you want to watch it, it's actually on my Patreon right now for free, so you can go watch that before it comes out uncensored. You're welcome, since I know I'm late on that. But let's just stop acting like these people give a fuck or like they're qualified to say anything that's important.
Did he do a Joe Rogan video? Wait, what is this one is 2 days ago? Is this the video he's talking about?
Comedy is at it.
No, it's 2 months ago. Yeah, it sounds like he did a similar video to similar video. He's also got this. Okay, so for the record, chat, like before you go and like and subscribe to Kahmal, to Kahmal, I'm looking at a video of his from a year ago. It's got a half and half face of Hassan Piker on one side and Steven Crowder on the other side. It's called "You're Being Radicalized." So in other words, Hassan Piker is equally bad to Steven Crowder. So somebody that literally like abuses his wife on a ring cam, right? Hassan Piker is that bad. Anyway, so this is, I don't know. I'm glad that he's, there's a pretty good call out for Andrew Schultz and the Flagrant Boys, but overall, I remain unconvinced at Kamal's content.